I tried $900 worth of mineral sunscreens, so you don't have to. It's got the consistency of paste, French's mustard. Yuck, so good. Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy and welcome to my sunscreen testing video for 2024. I'm so psyched for today's video because I tested 29 mineral sunscreens, so you don't have to. I really don't like mineral sunscreens that leave me a white cast, that are super greasy and heavy feeling, that have a really strong fragrance, or that are super shiny, because I do have a lot of enlarged pores and texture on my skin, so I don't have like perfect glass skin, and so shiny things on me just accentuate my pores and texture, and I don't like them. But if you do have perfect glass skin, then you might like some of the shiny ones and some things might work for you. So I do encourage you to watch all of the sunscreens, because just because something didn't work for me, that doesn't mean it couldn't work for you. And actually, some people watch my videos with that in mind. So that's really the point of this video. It's to present all the sunscreens so that you can find one that you love. Because wearing sunscreen is really, really important on an everyday basis. And I always put out this video in May because May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and sunscreen is the best tool that we have to prevent skin cancer. Sunscreen is also our #1 tool in preventing the signs of photoaging, which is aging that comes from the rays of the sun. So if you want to look younger, protecting your skin from the sun is the way to go. For the ones that I liked enough on their own that I would wear them on a daily basis, I also try them under foundation. In order to level the playing field on this video, I use the same skincare before applying each sunscreen, and I use the same foundation to test each sunscreen. The makeup I use this year is the Revlon Illuminance foundation. This is a really good one. With my normal Good Wear sunscreen, this lasts on my skin for a good 8 to 10 hours solid with no wearing off and no settling into wrinkles. You're gonna see me applying what you probably consider to be a lot of sunscreen. The reason that I put on so much is because sunscreen is actually dose dependent. So to get the SPF number on the label, it has to be tested at a certain quantity. And if you don't put the same quantity of sunscreen on your skin, then you're not going to get the SPF number on the label. So most people use a tiny pea-sized amount and they rub the thing all over their face. That takes an SPF 50 and brings it down to about an SPF of 7. And that is not going to protect your skin from skin cancers or from the aging rays of the sun. Here's a little demo showing how you can take any white sunscreen and make it no-show and invisible on your skin. So you take a tiny pea-sized amount, you rub it in your entire face, and look, no white cast. But you're cutting the SPF coverage down here to about an SPF of 7. If you actually want to get the SPF 50 on the label from this sunscreen, you have to apply a 1/4 teaspoon for your face and neck, or an 1/8 of a teaspoon for your face. And when you do that, there's that white cast. All right, let's start with the group of sunscreens that got 0 out of 5 points in my mineral sunscreen rating system. First in this category is the First Aid Beauty Mineral Sunscreen SPF 30. This is a white cream that feels very greasy and very sticky going on. It spreads unevenly and takes work to rub it in. It goes on super streaky, it gathers in your eyebrows, it gathers in your hairline. So this one is unwearable on its own, 0 out of 5 points. Next up is Color Science No Show SPF 50. This is a PA+++++. Retails for $45 for 1.7 ounces. This is a white liquid lotion that feels wet and oily going on. It spreads well and there are no problems in the hair. It does leave a white cast. So for something that is called no show, it does show, so I give it 0 out of 5. Next up is M61 Perfect Sunscreen. This is an SPF 50. It retails for $48 for 1.7 ounces. This comes in 2 different versions. One is tinted, the other one is the sheer. Putting the sheer version on half my face, it doesn't rub in well, it balls and pills. It doesn't feel super greasy, but it does leave a white cast. Then putting the tinted version on the other side of my face, the pigment spreads really badly and unevenly. The shade is the color of like French's mustard, so these were both epic fails for me. I give them both 0 out of 5 points. Next up is One Kind Solar Drops SPF 55. This is $48 for 1 ounce. It's heavy, it's greasy, it has a white cast, it clings to hairs, it settles into wrinkles right away. It is just Yuck. I give it a 0 out of 5 points. Next up is Prequel Sun Barrier Mineral SPF 50. It's a PA++++. It retails for $22 for 1.7 ounces. This is a pink lotion that feels lightweight but wet and oily going on. It doesn't rub in well or sit well on the skin. It balls and pills with skincare, and it does leave a slight white cast. It looked so shiny. It literally looked like I had poured oil down my face. And this one really irritated my skin. So this one is a 0 out of 5 for me. This next sunscreen is one that a viewer specifically requested because she thought the ingredients were so interesting. This is the Sky and Sol SPF 50 PA++++ rating. It's $50 for 3 ounces. It has cow fat in there, it has beeswax, propolis, olive oil, shea butter. It doesn't rub in well or sit well on the skin. It's streaky, it clings to hairs, it's heavy, and it has a strong white cast, and it's very, very shiny. It's settled into my neck wrinkles and looks really gross on the skin. This one gets a 0 out of 5 points. All right, next up is Supergoop Mineral Unseen Sunscreen SPF 40. This retails for $40 for 1.7 ounces. It's streaky, it balls and pills, it gathers in your hair and around the edges, and it has a strong white cast. The one thing that I do like about it is that it has a lovely satin matte finish. It's not super shiny. So I give this one a 2 out of 5. Next up is Iris and Romeo Weekend Skin SPF 50 Plus Vitamin C Plus Glow. This is $50 for 1.18 ounces. It comes in 3 shades. I got it in the lightest tint, which is called Universal. It feels slightly greasy, but not heavy. It's very, very shiny. The tint works well for my skin tone. It's easy to spread, but it doesn't sit great on the skin. And it slides around and comes off and is very settled into my neck wrinkles. This one got 0 out of 5 points. Next up is Alley-Oop Sensational SPF 50. This is $28 for 1 ounce. It comes in 12 shades, which is amazing for a sunscreen. Their shade matcher picked the shade Beam for me. I bought that and the next lighter shade, which is Shine. These both were too dark for me. They feel wet and oily going on, and there's so much pigment in this that it doesn't spread evenly. The finish is super shiny, and my face looks and feels so greasy. The pigment is settled into all my wrinkles. They get a 0 out of 5 stars. Up next is Neutrogena Mineral Invisible Daily Sunscreen SPF 30. This retails for $11.79 for 1.4 ounces. This is a pink tinted liquid lotion that feels lightweight and not heavy or greasy or sticky. It does leave a white cast, and it's pretty shiny. So I'm giving this one a 1 out of 5 points for the fact that it doesn't feel greasy. Next is Sephora Daily Sunscreen SPF 30. This retails for $20 for 1.7 ounces. It feels like an emollient lotion, and it's only slightly oily feeling. It does give a slight white cast, and it has a medium level of shine. I'm giving this one a 2 out of 5 because it feels like it could be wearable for people who like something that feels emollient and hydrating but have paler skin tones. Next is Naked Sunday's Cabana Glow SPF 50. These are $35 a piece for 1.69 ounces. They come in 3 shades. This one is the illuminating shade, and this one is called Bronze. Kudos to the brand for recommending using a 1/4 teaspoon for face and a 1/4 teaspoon for the neck. This is a tinted, runny liquid that spreads easily over the skin. It has no problems in hair or eyebrows. The tint hides the white cast, but it also has a golden, glittery pigment to it that doesn't blend into the skin well. It doesn't look bad from a distance, but for me, I wouldn't wear it on its own because of the shiny, luminous, metallic finish that it has. So if you love that golden glow, dewy look, these could really work for you. So I gave these guys a 2 out of 5. Next up is Beekman 1802 Milk Tint SPF 43. This retails for $48 for 1.7 ounces. This comes in 7 shades. I got it in the shade medium. It feels like a serum, but it doesn't spread super evenly. It skips over pores and it clumps up and it settles in your wrinkles right away. I gave this one a 2 out of 5 because it looked good from a distance and it didn't feel terrible on my skin. Next is Bubble +1 SPF 40. This retails for $19 for 1.7 ounces. This is a tinted lotion. It takes a little work to rub this one in. It kind of foams a little bit. Once you work it a bit, it does actually blend well in the end. It feels pretty greasy going on and it's got a pretty shiny finish. The tint is slightly dark for me. It definitely hides the white cast, but doesn't give any coverage. 2 out of 5 for a sunscreen. All right, the next group of sunscreens are sunscreens that weren't terrible on their own, so I actually tested them under makeup, but unfortunately they just didn't work under makeup. So first up here is Hero Force Shield Super Beam SPF 30. Retails for $19.99 for 1.69 ounces. It does feel slightly greasy going on, but very lightweight. It's very smeary when you first put it on. The tint does hide any white cast, but it's on the warm / orangey side. With makeup though, it crashed and burned on application. Oh, it's bald and pilled, and it generally looks terrible under makeup. But I think if you have the right skin tone for this, and if you have drier skin, that you could really love this as a standalone sunscreen. I give it 3 out of 5 points for a sunscreen and 0 out of 5 under makeup. Next up is Bloom Effects Tulip Dew Sunscreen Serum SPF 50. This retails for $65 for 1.86 ounces. It has a lightweight, oily feel going on. It spreads easily. There are no problems around the hair. The tint is a little on the cool side, so it's a good match for me, although it is slightly dark for me. It does have a really shiny finish. The foundation goes on over it nicely and looks good, but the shine comes right through the makeup. The makeup had crashed and burned though after only 2 hours of wear. My nose looks so weird and mottled. The makeup just doesn't stick to this sunscreen and it settled into all my wrinkles. So I give this one a 3 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen and a 1 out of 5 under makeup. All right, next up is Tizo Ultra Zinc Tinted Face and Body SPF 40. This retails for $45 for 3.5 ounces. This is a tinted lotion that feels like an emollient moisturizer going on. It does feel slightly greasy, but very lightweight. The sheer tint hides any white cast and the finish isn't overly shiny. Here is the makeup over the Tizo, and I think it looks really nice. There is a little bit of settling into wrinkles. It never really set back. So it's definitely been coming off under my fingernails, and every time I touch it, it kind of comes off. It definitely shortens the wear time of makeup by about 50%. I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5 for sunscreen, just because people with drier skin might like it, and it is wearable on its own, but only a 2 out of 5 under makeup. Next up is Amvara SPF 50. This is $19.99 for 1.65 ounces. This is a thicker tinted cream. It almost feels granular going on. It's got the consistency of paste and it does not spread easily, but yet it melts into the skin and somehow ends up giving you an even coating. The shade hides the white cast and is a good shade match. My face did feel a little tacky, but not overly greasy. It's not super shiny though. Under makeup, it looks pretty good, but it does make a few tiny balls. It didn't settle into wrinkles, but it did make the makeup look slightly heavier, but not terrible. At the 4-hour check-in, it still wasn't settled into any wrinkles. That was the good news, but the bad news was that it way shortens the wear time of the makeup. It slides around, it balls and pills. So I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5 as a sunscreen and a 3 out of 5 under makeup. Next is Herbivore Star Seed SPF 30. This retails for $38 for 1.7 ounces. This is a peach tinted lotion that spreads and rubs in easily. There are no problems around the hair or the eyebrows, and it doesn't feel greasy. It doesn't feel heavy or oily. The finish is a satin matte and it's not shiny. It has a very slight white cast, but it's very wearable on its own. I went ahead and put makeup on over it. It balls and pills and makeup goes on over it very unevenly. It definitely shortens the wear time of makeup. This one just isn't great under foundation, but as a standalone sunscreen, if you're a paler person, really, really good. I gave this one 4 out of 5 as a sunscreen, but only 2 out of 5 under makeup. Next up is K-Skin Mobay SPF 30, which retails for $36 for 1.7 ounces. This is an off-white runny liquid. It does glide over skin really easily. It feels like it's drying and setting very quickly, and it doesn't feel greasy. It did have the slight white cast, and that won't be wearable for everyone. Foundation goes on over this, a little bit patchy with slight balling and pilling. I'm not in love with how it looks under makeup, and it's making my concealer crease a lot more than usual. At a 7-hour check-in, it was majorly worn off and looking terrible. My wrinkles were all accentuated. It looked crusty and dry. I give this one a rating of 4.5 out of 5 as a sunscreen. It's really fantastic if you're a little bit paler, and only 2 out of 5 under makeup. Our next category is going to be the sunscreens that are wearable on their own, and they're also good under makeup. So the first one I have to share with you here is RMS Supernatural Radiance Serum SPF 30. This is $48 for 1 ounce. It comes in 3 shades. I have 2 of them here. I am trying the lighter shade on the right side of your screen and a mix of both the shades that I have on the left side of your screen. It does feel a little greasy and oily going on, but it does blend nicely on the skin at the brows and along the hairline. But this one does contain a fair amount of fragrance. It's very floral, but it did dissipate fairly quickly. It's very shiny, and I feel like it accentuates my pores and texture. Makeup goes on over it very nicely. There was a slight amount of pilling. The shine does come through the makeup, so it definitely needs setting powder. At the 4-hour check-in, it still looked really good. There was no settling into wrinkles, and the shine didn't come through once I had powdered the foundation down. It felt hydrating and comfortable, but not greasy. At the 8-hour check-in, it looked just okay. It was a little bit worn off on my nose, my concealer was worn off, and it did look pretty shiny. And there was a little bit of settling into wrinkles by the end of the day, but it didn't feel drying. So I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5 for sunscreen and a 3 out of 5 for under makeup. Next up is one of my previous Holy Grail sunscreens that was reformulated over the last year. It is the Undefined R&R SPF 50. It retails for $28 for 1.7 ounces. This comes in 3 shades, and I wear the middle shade. The reason this sunscreen was reformulated is because it kept separating. So they had to reformulate to cure the separating problem. It used to contain squalane and some other facial oils. So in the reformulation, they removed some of the oils, and so some of you are actually gonna like this better as a standalone sunscreen because it doesn't have the oils and it's much less oily and greasy feeling going on. It blends really easily. There's no balling or pilling. There's no problems around the hairline or the eyebrows. The finish is shiny. The medium tint matches me well. Makeup goes on over it as well as it did with the previous version. It looks beautiful and smooth and youthful. After 4 hours, there was no settling into wrinkles, but the foundation wasn't wearing as well as the previous version had. And it was more worn off around my nose and chin. At the 8-hour check-in, my makeup was very, very worn off, and I was so disappointed. So as a standalone sunscreen, this is just as good as it was before. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen, but only 3 out of 5 for under makeup. Next up is Kinlo Golden Rays SPF 50. This is $11.99 for 0.95 ounces. This comes in 3 shades, and I have it in the lightest shade. This is Naomi Osaka, the tennis player's brand, and she wanted to create sunscreen specifically for people with darker skin tones. So the lightest shade in this is a little bit too dark for me. This is a tinted runny liquid that feels great going on, not greasy at all. It blends evenly. There are no problems at the hairline or brows. The tint on this definitely hides any white cast, but it definitely is a little bit too dark for my skin tone. And the finish is glowy, but not overly shiny. With makeup, it's so nice and thin that it doesn't add any heaviness to the makeup. It doesn't accentuate pores or texture. At 5.5 hours, the makeup still looked really great. There was no settling into wrinkles, and it wasn't getting shiny. By the 8-hour check-in, this was more worn off than the foundation would normally be at that time. It was also starting to slide around a bit. For this one, I give it a 4 out of 5 for wearability wearability on its own, providing that you have a darker skin tone, and a 4 out of 5 under makeup. Next up is another longtime favorite sunscreen that was reformulated this year. And again, so disappointed over this one. This is EltaMD AOX Elements SPF 50. It used to be called EltaMD UV Elements SPF 44. It now retails for $40 for 1.7 ounces. This is fragrance-free and water-resistant to 40 minutes. This is a tinted lotion that feels lightweight and doesn't feel sticky or greasy going on. It's easy to apply and easy to blend. The tint is darker and warmer than the original, so it's still slightly dark for me. It does have a luminous finish, but it looks nice. I usually wear it just on its own on a no makeup day with a little bit of setting powder, and I'm good to go. Makeup goes on over it as well as it did with the previous version. It looks beautiful and smooth and sheer, but the shine does come through. At the 4-hour check-in, the makeup actually looked better than I expected, still mainly in place and not settling into wrinkles. At the 8-hour check-in, the shine definitely come through the foundation and I was looking pretty shiny, but the wear I think is better on this than the old formula. It wasn't worn off. The makeup definitely wears better over this new formula than over the old formula. The old formula used to make my foundation wear off like 3 or 4 hours early, and I always had to mix it with a different sunscreen that had more grippiness to it. But this one, the foundation has really lasted, so I am really happy with this. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen, and I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 under makeup. And we have finally made it to this year's winner. This is the most perfect of all the sunscreens that I tested this year, and it is MD Healthy Skin Lab SPF 50. This is $35 for 1.8 ounces. It's cruelty-free and 80 minutes water resistant. This is a tinted lotion that feels nice going on. It doesn't feel overly heavy or greasy. The tint is slightly dark for me, but definitely wearable. The finish is a little shiny, but not oily or wet looking. The tint on this one evens out my skin tone really beautifully, and I can wear this one on its own without having to put any makeup on over it for a no makeup day. But if I want to wear makeup, this looks great under makeup as well. Makeup goes on looking just like it normally does. It doesn't change the look of the makeup. It doesn't make it ball or pill. After 4 hours in the sunscreen makeup combination, it still looks great, and there was no settling in my wrinkles. At the 8-hour check-in, this was perfection. It was not very worn off. There was no settling in the wrinkles. There was no sliding around. And when I was testing it months and months ago, I thought, this one might be the winner. And sure enough, it is the winner. So I'm giving this one a rating of 5 out of 5 for a wear alone sunscreen, providing that it's not too dark for you. And I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 under makeup. It's the one that I'm wearing today under my makeup, and I'm still wearing that same combination. And look how good this looks. I put this makeup on at 9 o'clock this morning. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm 6 hours in the makeup, haven't touched it up at all, and it looks beautiful, and it will all day. I'm going out tonight, I'm not gonna touch it up. And so this is the winner this year and my new favorite. Very happy to be able to share this one with you this year as the winner. I hope it works for you, or I hope that you were able to find something else in this video that does work for you. Links for all the products will be in the info box below the video for quick and easy shopping. So this year I tried another 29 mineral sunscreens, bringing my total over the 8 years up to 243 sunscreens tested. So if you don't see a sunscreen that you're interested in tested here today, I've probably tested it in the past, and you can find it if you're gonna stay here on YouTube to look for it by searching Hot and Flashy plus the name of the sunscreen, and then the video will come up. I also have a blog post on my blog, HotandFlashy.com, that lists every sunscreen I've ever tried in order from best to worst, so that you can find what you're looking for over there. It's not 100% updated. It's gonna take me a little time to get these on there. That is it for today's video, everybody. If you enjoyed it, found it helpful and informative, go ahead and give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. As always, I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.